Nigel lay asleep in his own bed, snoring quietly as he dreamt. He had been asleep for quite some time now, and it was probably one of the best rests he had had in a while since he left Earth. The young boy proudly walked through the hallways and into the conference dome. His teammates chanted his name all the way through as he rose in the center of the dome. He soon chanting slowly faded into silence. A gold medal descended around his neck, as if he was getting a promotion of some sort. He chuckled a bit before admiring the medallion. He felt proud, honored, maybe a bit prideful, until those thoughts were disrupted by a voice. "Please, number one." Suddenly, more voices started echoing from somewhere below him. But this time they seemed to be frightening voices, begging for something to happen to them. "Don't do it, Nigel. Snap out of it, kid. Why must you betray us like this? You'll kill us all, you foolish child." After a few moments of the voices in Nigel's dreams had started to grow more and more enraged and aggressive as they keep reverberating with the recesses of his mind. "And this is all your fault, traitor." Nigel simply kept tossing and turning, frequently in his sheets, mumbling and shaking. "I cannot believe we trusted you, Nigel Uno." That final voice caused Nigel to shoot up from his sleep, momentarily panicking, looking around. He saw no one around. Taking in a shaky, deep breath, he slowly laid his head back down onto his pillow. But this had he closed his eyes. Yet another voice with a quiet tone permeated his eardrums. "Hello?" Nigel grumbled. He then opened his eyes ever see so slightly to see himself, his old self in that red sweater and shades. Nigel was flabbergasted. "What the hell is going on?" he mumbled. "I am before you left this place, number one." Present-day Nigel then shook his head in annoyance. "I must be hallucinating," he sighed, rolling over onto the blankets. "I wouldn't put it that way. Dad, think of me as your coincidence." Past Nigel chuckled a bit, before slowly regaining his worried, serious expression. "Nigel, I am here to warn you. You mustn't continue to follow these beings' footsteps. Everything is fine, kid. No, I assure you, you will regret it big time in the future, if you follow through with the plans long enough. What do you know? What these space freaks are not all what they call themselves. They're just using you, manipulating you. Please, you must listen to me. This organization isn't about the kids next door." Past Nigel pleaded. "This goes beyond kids next door." "No, it doesn't. You're only betraying your friends, your family, and your true self. Snap out of it." "I am only doing what must be done." Present Nigel coldly contracted, as past Nigel simply frowned, rather sadly. "What happened to you?" There was a longer pause before present Nigel slowly turned his face, the hallucination of himself. "I've moved on." Past Nigel's hopeless facial expression only continued to grow as his figure began to slowly gradually fade. "Well, if that's how you feel, then I'll stop trying to help you, and I'll let you find out yourself what betraying does not only to one's victims, but the traitor as well, at least, if there is still a smidgen of kindness left in you." With that, the old Nigel tearfully glared at himself, and then faded into nothing. Nigel huffed in frustration, then flopped back onto his bed. Why was he having all these disturbing dreams and hallucinations? It's almost as if something in his mind was trying to scare him out of the decluded state. To warm up of what was to be in the future, but far more prominent coincidence, always seemed to find a way to block out any sort of positive reasoning from actually getting through the boy. It was completely baffling mental struggle. Nigel went back to sleep once again, anticipating future battles, only being able to hope that his stress would soon let up soon, and soon things would return all right out at the end. It had been around 4 more weeks since the first battle, as the kids had finished reconstructing and preparing their property. After many days of non-stop work, they had finally returned to their respective sectors. Hoagie, Coogie, and Wally were at the treehouse that evening. Number 3 and 4 were sitting on the couches, and Hoagie was sitting in his room. He was just simply propped up against a corner, surrounded by a framed pictures, with a rather lonely, forlorn look on his face. He then picked up 2 photos, holding them over his lap. He then left the same Abigail photo that he had been keeping for almost a month now. He smiled lightly, and then looked at the second picture. Hoagie's smile then faded once again. The picture showed Hoagie and Nigel in a side hug, making silly faces at the camera. Hoagie glanced up at the other pictures around him, many which showed Nigel and the Sector 5 members, happy, carefree, like they would have been together forever, as best friends. Hoagie let out a shaky sigh as flashbacks from his first battle played over again in the back of his mind. Getting up, he then walks into the living room. He then sits beside Coogie and Wally, who had also had a look of despondency. A tear formed in Wally's eye as he slid down his cheek before Coogie wiped away with her sleeve. He hadn't cried in a long time, but the recent memories on Nigel were still so promptant. Then Hoagie spoke. You know, to me, it's not bad that Nigel left it as it is, you know. He's changed a lot, and certainly not in a good way. I mean, if only if you could see the way he looked at me. He thought aloud, sighing. I feel like we've been tricked by those galactic dolts. First they took away our pal, and now they're using him against us. I wish we could find a way to snap him out of it, Wally added on. I don't really know or if we really can, number 4. I guess the best thing we could do is just keep on fighting and hope to get the better ending, Hoagie replied, looking out of the window and seeing the bright lights of the GKND's spaceship illuminating the sky along with the moon and stars. It was nearly time for the big second wave. Though broken on the inside, these kids were about to let their guard down and had to save Earth, if it meant never seeing Nigel back to his normal self again. A shrill rhythm of beeps sounded the speakers throughout the galactic mothership, immediately awakening and alerting Nigel as soon as the other operatives populating the coastal spaceship. They had all risen from where they were resting and immediately headed out to the shovels, knowing it was time for their next fight. Alright, fellow operatives, you know the drill. Except this time, we will attack them by surprise. A booming voice, ever-berating echo, presumably the leader, said from the speakers on its ceiling. It's unlikely those humans down on Earth are suspecting a thing at this moment. You are all descended to Earth in your space shuttles in 60 seconds to ambush the humans, with the exception of the following. Operatives numbers ordinal, nominal, negative umpteen, infinity 74.239, Vine, Beth, Moron, and especially one. Nigel shall join us in the conference dome for a very special opportunity. As soon as the voice said that, very special opportunity, number 9L froze with a look of trauma and concern, and did as quite a few operatives. The timer began ticking down from 30 seconds, and as Nigel was escorted out of the room, number 9Ls began sprinting after him, only to be tasted by the device attached to her neck. Did I say you could tag along, number 9 lives? Go with your teammates now, the leader's voice boomed, sending the poor feline back in position. Once you hear this sound from your microchips, a slightly prolonged beep sound, you will all retreat back to the ship. Once the timer 0 had the large hatch door opened up once again, leaving all the operatives to dive down to Earth. On the moon base, number 44A and 44B watched from alongside of the windows as the small ships plunged towards their home planet Earth. 44A pulled out a transceiver and said, Number 44A to 86. A second wave of enemies has headed to Earth, and it looks like a lot bigger than the last one. Fanny then heard this and immediately headed to Abby's office. Sir, I had just received the word that the second attack is in action. Abby's eyes went wide. And you're telling me this just now? I know, they must have planned ahead of us this time. And even more of them too. Abby was trying not to panic, but I began long thinking hard. Back on Earth at the Cattersons, Cree and Carla were in Carla's bedroom, eating leftover pizza. Boy, I miss Chad. He's been gone for almost 2 months now, Carla sighed, reminiscing the past 7.5 weeks since the whole chaos began. I miss him too, Cree responded, and I do hope nothing bad happens to him. Just then something crashed through the window, startling the two teenagers. The figure then curled up and stood up. It turned face to face with two girls, glaring at them with 6 multicolored eyes, towering over them, likely to be 7 to 8 feet tall. A layer sight of green ooze trickled down its tail, slouched body, and collected into the hard, cold wood floor, creating 2 more itself. Cree and Carla were just stood there in awe and terror before the free aliens' clones lunged at them both, sending them tumbling for the window. As they were pinned to the grass, they looked around. Teens, kids, and adults alike. They were all under siege by aliens too. Buildings were also getting demolished by the young externals, wrecked in all kinds of havoc. Across town, Maurice and his gang had also gotten the sudden attack. Guys, I think it's time to make our biggest move yet, and to sneak attack them back. Here's what we'll do. We'll plan to put together a camouflage missile launcher, but not directly at the mothership, since its material is apparently protected by super strong barrier. Then we'll lead as many aliens as we can to the open field with decoy planes. It may take some time to put all this together, but I remember it's for a good cause. Maurice explained as he went to go open the door, walking into a larger room and turning the lights on. Sounds like a plan. We'll get these broke-offs in the world of no time, Marie chimed as she, Aiko, and Annie followed Maurice into the large laboratory to build their own weapon. Back at the moon base, Abby and Fanny had sat down on the chairs of the office, still thinking. Shortly, Abby had an idea. I got me an idea. In order to finally make a chance at fending off the aliens, we are going to have to temporarily recommission everyone on the planet. But how? She once again started to think for a few moments. Wait, sir, I just remembered something. Fanny then piped up the empathy before walking towards the circular hole in the wall. Inside was a big red button. Abby looked where Fanny was looking and then went up to the hole with the large button aside. On the top read, Global Recommissioning Module activated in case of worldwide emergency. Number 362 built this a long while back. You must have to press it with both hands, Fanny explained, resting her chin on her head. Of course, Abby exclaimed, before looking at the button, seeing the 2 handprints on the symbol. She then positioned her hands in the exact way and laid them on the symbols, pushing them inward. That one push of the button activated a huge metal box at the bottom of the moon base, with a laser-like nozzle at the end. The lens of the nozzle started to glow as the machine warmed up. Shortly, a bright, colorful beam busted through the lens and down to Earth. Once the beam hit the ozone layer, momentarily it consumed the sky with a big, bright flash. Everyone looked up at the mixture of shock and amazement as the sky flashed pure white, then came down as bright, colorful sparkles. The crowd of humans and aliens alike looked on everyone as they seemed to start acting like the kids next door operatives. Decommissioned, non-members, children, teenagers, and adults alike began to come to their senses all at once. Hey, what the hell are we standing around here for? The world needs us now more than ever, Monty shouted, as number 0, a teenager known as Steve, chimed in. Yeah, let's show these galactic bozos who truly rules this planet. And with that, the whole audience reawakened the operatives, began cheering and crying out the phrase, Kids next door rule! Observing the all of a sudden changes of behavior around them, Hoagie, Coogie, and Wally looked at each other. What's going on? Hoagie quietly asked. I don't know. It's been like that since recommissioned, Wally responded, his eyes widening at the last word. Well, what are we waiting for? Battle stations, everyone! The Galactic kids, it's tough, a bit intimidated, did not surrender just yet. As they charged back at the kids' Earth, another battle finally was breaking out. Both sides going at each other's throats, some with weapons, others with bare hands, aerial attacks from shuttles, soon to be followed as well. Carla and Cree watch as the mayhem of the aliens duplicates slimy clutches, and they do too, have been affected by recommissioning the model's ray. Carla soon got frustrated from trying to break free from the vicious blue light slime that bound her in place. Using their small animal powers, she changed into a large gorilla, breaking free in the process. She then pulled Kree out of the slime as well and said, "Come on, Lincoln, it's time to get down to business." She then picked up her girlfriend and then went back to her room, picked up her helmet and put it on. Kree scowled as she saw the helmet. She remembered she hated anything to do with the organization. "Yeah, you're on your own on this one." She then stood and walked out of the bedroom down the stairs. "But Kree, I need your help," Carla replied, following Kree. "It's not you, Carla. It's just I don't want to be involved in anything with Kids Next Door related, or anything the Kids Next Door are doing. I have told you that." Carla then just looked at her for a couple seconds, then scowled as tears formed in her eyes. She grabbed Kree by the shoulders and turned her around so they were facing each other. "Now you listen here, Lincoln. There is a bunch of aliens out here that just want to kill us. They're after us. And after they find our friends, our family, most temporarily, they're after the entire world. And you're just going to sit there and let everyone die because of some stupid grudge? Think about your family. Think about your brother. Think about your sister, wherever she is now. You wouldn't want anything more to happen to them. So I think you should just let go of your grudges for once and do your share. You hear me?" Kree's eyes filled with tears as she shook like a leaf, but then took a breath. You're right. I'm letting just a stupid grudge take over me like irrational thinking again. I'm sorry, Kree softly replied, Carla's expression softening as she lowered her muzzle to her head. Hey, it happens to everyone. I'm just asking you to do this for the ones you care about. Kree nodded at this, and then grabbed Carla's hand. What do you say we fly out, and this plan needs as many operatives as possible to save it? Carla smiled, changing into a dragon this time as Kree hopped on her back. Sure thing, number glitch. Spreading her massive wings, Carla soared through the broken window and into the sky, slashing and breathing fire at any space shuttles came in her way. I think I'll get recognized as the Kids Next Door operatives this time, she thought to herself, smiling a bit bright of the beam that just barely missed her muzzle and hit the ground below, causing a light explosion on impact. Carla looked at Kree and then smiled. Now there's my chance to prove everyone. Carla then proceeded to swoop down on full speed, changing into a cheetah upon impact, so when the ground hit it, began charging, while the dodging laser shot down from the giant spaceship above. The others also tried to avoid the lasers, but several of them got stuck in the process. Then something strange but terrifying happened. The people who got struck froze for a moment. They started to evaporate. After seeing this, everyone began to panic and became more aggressive. Sector V was struggling as the aliens crowded them, Wally punching and kicking in frustration. Get off of us or I'll drop kick you back to space. I refuse to give up, Carla growled as she changed into a bear, charging at the aliens and scaring them off of the free kids. Then all of them ran as the beam crashed into where they were standing. Shortly after, unearthly children crowded around the four operatives, while the shower got bright beams rained down. They were trapped. One of the kids snarled and lunged at them, only for staff with a golden crescent on the end to strike her on the head. The four operatives then looked and saw one of them, none other than Kree. Wielding her staff, she let out an enraged scream as she jumped down from the dilapidated house and began whacking every single alien operative that ran to her, throwing some kicks and punches as well. Looks like some lessons from Rafiki, Hoagie said, giggling at his own joke. Carla laughed. Yeah, isn't she awesome? Back at the mothership, Numbers Ordinal and Norminal were all having a blast, operating their laser cannons, laughing hysterically as they aimed and fired at each ray. Then the leader's voice was heard on the speakers once again. All right, Ordinal and Norminal, we have trapped the kids down at Sector 5, and the two teenagers, why not start with them? They seem most determined to stop us all out after all. Right away, Master, Ordinal said, pressing a big green button and holding this enormous ray of light center in the outer wall began to build up, get stronger. Soon Kree was beginning to get exhausted as the other four tried to find a way out. They were all fighting for their lives when the alien operatives attacking them suddenly fled the scene. All at once, a bright light's flash illuminated the skies, a wide electric beams from the lightning bolt that had passed down an ozone layer. And as they headed straight for Kree, who was trying to move out of the way, Carla saw this and instantly panicked, sprinting towards where the bolt was going to strike. "Kids next door rules!" she cried before jumping. Kree opened her eyes and uncovered her ears. Carla's eyes were wide in severe shock. She fell to the ground, her limbs and head twitching. "Carla!" Kree then kneeled over to Carla's damaged body, carefully picking her up and holding her in her arms, as a crowd of recommissioned operatives slowly gathered around the two. As Carla looked up at her distressed partner, tears collected in her eyes. "I'm sorry, everyone. I tried," she choked out in a panted, raspy voice. Kree softly hushed her before placing a hand on Carla's cheek. "I finally got everyone's support, didn't I? That's all I ever wanted. Support." With that, she could say nothing more. Closed her eyes and almost instantly disintegrated into nothing. Kree whimpered and fell onto the ground, sobbing her heart out. Ordinal and Normanal chuckled to themselves as they watched an explosion from the telescopes. "Master, the target has been successfully shot down." Ordinal spoke into a device. The leader then chuckled in a sinister manner. "Excellent. Looks like our plan is coming together perfectly, yet again. Soon we'll take care of the remaining Earth scum, and that's where Nigel comes in."